She stood at the edge of the diner's glass door, the neon sign buzzing weakly above her head, its red light flickering like it couldn't decide whether to stay alive or give up. Her coat was too thin for the cold, frayed at the sleeves, smelling faintly of rain and desperation. Her name was Elena, though no one inside cared to ask. All she carried was a small, trembling courage and a hunger that wasn't hers alone. 2 blocks away, in a broken apartment with no heat, her children waited, 3 of them, huddled together like sparrows, trusting their mother would return with something warm, something edible, something hopeful. Elena pushed the door open and stepped inside, the bell chiming too loudly for her nerves. Conversations paused. Forks stopped midair. She felt every eye cut through her, judging her clothes, her face, her place in the world. She approached the counter slowly, hands visible, voice barely above a whisper as she spoke to the manager, a thick-necked man with impatient eyes and a permanent scowl carved into his face. She didn't ask for money. She didn't ask for charity. She only asked if there was leftover food, something that would otherwise be thrown away. "My children haven't eaten today," she said, swallowing her pride with every word. For a moment, silence hung heavy, and hope flickered in her chest. Then the manager laughed. Not kindly, not awkwardly. He laughed like her pain was entertainment. He leaned forward, his voice sharp, loud enough for the entire diner to hear. He accused her of trying to scam him, of bringing trouble, of ruining his customers' appetites. Elena tried to explain, her voice cracking, but he cut her off, slamming his palm on the counter. He grabbed her arm, hard, yanking her toward the door as she stumbled, nearly falling. Someone gasped. Someone else looked away. No one moved. Outside, the cold swallowed her again as the manager shoved her onto the sidewalk. Her knees scraped against the concrete. Tears burned her eyes, but she refused to cry, not here, not in front of him. That was when the rumble started. At first, it sounded like distant thunder. Then it grew louder, heavier. The manager turned, annoyed, still shouting insults as if he hadn't already done enough damage. From the far end of the street, headlights appeared, dozens of them, motorcycles, big ones. Chrome flashing under the streetlights, engines roaring like a warning from fate itself. The crowd inside the diner pressed against the windows now. Curiosity replacing indifference. The manager's voice faltered. The bikes pulled in one by one, forming a wall of steel and leather. Men and women dismounted, boots hitting pavement in unison. Patches stitched onto their jackets told stories of loyalty, brotherhood, loss, and honor. One of them, a tall man with gray in his beard and eyes that had seen too much, stepped forward. He looked at Elena first, helping her to her feet gently, noticing the bruises already forming on her arm. Then he turned. The street felt different now, charged with an energy that made the air itself vibrate. The bikers stood quietly, not shouting, not threatening, and somehow that silence was more terrifying than any scream. The gray-bearded biker finally spoke, his voice calm but heavy with authority, asking the manager a simple question. "Did you put your hands on her?" The manager tried to laugh it off, stuttering excuses about trespassing and policy, but his words fell apart under the weight of the truth. One by one, witnesses stepped forward. Customers who had seen everything, who had stayed silent before but found courage now that strength stood beside them. A waitress whispered about the grab, the shove, the cruelty. A young man admitted he'd filmed it on his phone. The manager's face drained of color. The biker nodded slowly, not in anger but in disappointment. He explained that many of them had once been hungry children too, that some had survived on scraps and kindness from strangers when the world had turned its back. He told the manager that power doesn't come from a title or a counter, but from how you treat those who have nothing. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Someone had already called them, but justice was already unfolding, in its own way. The bikers didn't touch the manager. They didn't need to. They made him look at Elena, really look at her, and forced him to apologize on his knees, right there on the cold pavement. When the police arrived, the video was shown, statements were taken, and the manager was led away in handcuffs, his job gone, his reputation shattered by his own actions. Inside the diner, the bikers paid for every meal, filling boxes with hot food, bread, soup, and desserts. They handed them to Elena with respect, not pity. One biker slipped an envelope into her coat pocket. Rent money, quietly given. Another offered to help her find work. As the bikes roared back to life and the group prepared to leave, the gray-bearded man knelt so he was eye level with her children, who had arrived by then. clinging to their mother, eyes wide with awe. Never be ashamed to ask for help, he told them. And never forget that kindness always finds its way back. The bikes disappeared into the night, leaving behind a street that would never forget what happened there. Elena held her children close, warmth finally replacing the cold, hope replacing despair. And as the screen fades and the lesson settles in your heart, remember this. Stories like this remind us who we are meant to be. If you believe compassion should always win, if you want more powerful stories that stand up for the voiceless, subscribe to this channel now, because together we keep these stories alive. The story didn't end when the engines faded into the night, because stories like this never truly end. They ripple outward, touching lives in ways no one expects. In the days that followed, the video spread faster than anyone imagined, shared and reshared by strangers who felt something stir inside them when they saw a hungry mother, pushed to the ground and then lifted back up by unexpected protectors. The diner closed within a week, its windows dark, its sign taken down like a shameful memory, while the manager faced charges that followed him everywhere he went, a reminder that cruelty always leaves fingerprints. Elena's life began to change quietly at first, not in some sudden miracle but in steady human steps. A local church helped her move into a warmer apartment. One of the biker's sisters, who owned a small bakery, offered her a job kneading dough in the early mornings, and Elena accepted with tears in her eyes, her hands shaking not from hunger this time but from gratitude. Her children returned to school with full lunches and lighter hearts, and at night they asked their mother to tell the story again. The night the monsters disappeared and the heroes arrived on roaring machines. Weeks later, on a crisp Sunday afternoon, the sound of engines returned, softer this time, familiar, comforting. The bikers came not as rescuers but as friends. They brought toys, groceries, laughter, and something even more powerful, respect. They sat at Elena's small table, drinking coffee from mismatched cups, listening as if her words mattered, because they did. The gray-bearded biker told her that strength doesn't always wear leather. Sometimes it wears a worn coat and keeps walking anyway. As months passed, Elena stood taller. She volunteered at shelters, helping other mothers who were where she once had been, telling them that asking for food was not a crime, and survival was not shameful. And somewhere out there, every time a biker saw someone being treated unfairly, they remembered her face and chose to stop. This is how change really happens, not through headlines alone, but through choices made again and again when no one is watching. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that courage can come from the unlikeliest places and that kindness is still powerful in a hard world, don't let it end here. Subscribe to this channel, because every subscribe is a vote for stories that defend the weak, honor the brave, and remind us all to be human.